Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me on this episode of the Pink Cloud Frequency. I am your host, Brianna Wynn, and today's episode is about the effect of alcohol on memory. Because if you're anything like I used to be, you're drinking because you think alcohol enhances your moments. You think it enhances your connections. And if you listen to episode 17, Alcohol is an Illusion, you know that incentive salience is responsible for making you perceive alcohol as an enhancer, but it's actually not. And more importantly, alcohol is the one thing stealing your ability to remember the moments that you're so desperately trying to enhance. Life is short, and when you choose an alcohol-free life, you're choosing to remember conversations clearly, to remember your vacations, to remember milestones and growth and all of those little moments in between, not just in your own life, but in the life of your loved ones as well. And all those little moments that life gives you, those are the only thing that can't be taken. The only true non-tangible wealth that we possess are our experiences and our memories. So why wouldn't we want to preserve them? Because those memories are what sharpen your life and deepen your life and ultimately preserve your life and your legacy. And you deserve to fully remember the life that you're building because we're not getting any younger. And when we depart our human existence, we can't take our assets or our money. We can't take our favorite possessions or our titles and status. We can't take any of our achievements and degrees and awards. We can't take our belongings or our appearance or youth. The only things that stay with us are the moments that we lived, the memories that we created, the people we love and who love us in return, the experiences that shaped who we became. So it's so important for us to understand how alcohol disrupts our memory. And the good news is, as soon as you quit drinking, if you haven't already, your brain starts to heal. As soon as you remove alcohol, your clarity, your recall, your emotional presence, all of that improves gradually. So I want to start with how memory actually works. Because once you understand this, everything about memory during intoxication will make so much more sense. The hippocampus is the area in your brain responsible for forming new memories and organizing your experiences. So every conversation you have, every moment you live, every memory you keep, it all passes through your hippocampus. So memory formation isn't automatic. It requires communication between your brain cells. And that communication depends heavily on a neurotransmitter called glutamate, which plays a key role in learning and memory. And at the same time, there's a process happening in your brain called long-term potentiation, LTP. And this is essentially how your brain locks in and stores new memories. So how it takes a moment that you're living and then it stores it so you can recall it later. But alcohol comes in the picture and disrupts that entire process because it suppresses activity in your hippocampus. It disrupts glutamate and it interferes with that memory encoding process. So what that means is you can be physically present in your experiences. You know, you're talking, you're laughing, you're engaging. You might even seem completely fine. But your brain is not properly recording what's happening when you're intoxicated. So even though The moment is there. It might feel like it's yours, but that moment is not being stored in your brain. So we usually refer to these short-term memory effects as blackouts, right? A blackout is a complete gap in your brain's ability to record what happens. So even if somebody reminds you of what happened one night, you can't recall. You have complete memory loss. So it may seem like you're functioning outwardly, but you may forget how you got home or not remember driving under the influence. You may wake up with no memory of leaving a bar or leaving a party. You might be told by others about conversations that you were having, or maybe even disagreements, and you have zero recollection. Or let's say you wake up in the morning and you're seeing text messages or phone calls or maybe even social media posts that you don't even remember posting, or you don't remember talking on the phone or sending those messages. Another example of a blackout might be not remembering who you were with and where you went. Basically, you're losing entire chunks of your night, right? It can be hours at a time off your life that you're losing during a blackout. So blackouts are moments that you are never actually getting to have, even though you live through them. So it's beyond a forgotten moment, right? Because it's a moment that was never stored by your brain to begin with. It's so profound when you really think about it. How you can seemingly be engaging in your own life, but you are actually so disconnected from it at the same time. And that's what a blackout is. And then you have brownouts, which refer to partial memory loss. So this is more common among people who drink. This is when you have that patchy recall. You remember little parts of the night, but it's missing details. It's fuzzy. So these are just as significant, again, because they're more common. If you drink on a regular basis, then you've likely experienced brownouts several times, where blackouts may be more uncommon for some people and maybe not. I used to drink a lot, and I've had nights where I've blacked out when I was younger. I've had a couple of those nights as an adult, and I've had brownouts plenty of times. And those are just as scary. That's when your conversations feel blurry or out of order. Or maybe you forget how something happened, but then you recall the aftermath. Or this is when you may need your friends to fill in the gaps for you because you're misremembering events or you're mixing up the sequence of events. You might feel unsure about something that you said or something that you did. So when you have brownouts, you have no ownership over your own experiences. And the impact of both blackouts and brownouts, that doesn't end when the night ends. It follows you into your next morning, into your thoughts, into your nervous system. And there is a massive psychological cost because you are now waking up with that pit in your stomach. You're scanning your phone before you even get out of bed. You're rereading text messages, trying to piece together who you were last night, possibly even who you were with or where you went. You might check your bank account, looking at transactions, your call logs, your social media. And then you're laying there wondering to yourself, did I say something embarrassing? Did I do something embarrassing? In some cases, you might be asking, did you hurt someone? Because you don't know how you got home. You might not know where your car even is. It might not be in your driveway. So then what does that do? It leads to the anxiety. Now, because you feel uncertain, now you're overthinking. Now you might feel shame. And you're so busy trying to reconstruct your night. You don't know what happened. And your anxiety is intensifying because your brain is trying to fill in gaps that were never recorded. And because of how memories are stored, it cannot do this because those memories weren't forming to begin with. And that's the worst feeling. Not remembering how your night ended, not knowing what impression you left. Maybe there was a big girls' night or a big family function that you were really looking forward to, and the night probably started out great. But then by the end of the night, you yourself don't even know who you were and how you showed up. Forgetting conversations that you had with someone that may have been important conversations or even really meaningful for that other person. Maybe somebody was opening up to you at a vulnerable point in time and you don't remember. And when you go revisit that conversation a week later or 2 weeks later and you don't know, that is, it not only feels awkward, but now the other person feels uncomfortable because they felt like they were having an experience with you that you were not having with them. Or maybe, you're trying to put your kids to bed and you don't remember the story that you read to them. You don't remember saying goodnight to your own children or kissing them. How about feeling anxious about how you showed up professionally when you were at a work function? And everybody had more drinks than planned, and now you're waking up the next morning wondering if you're still employed. Because you don't know. You don't know what you said. Maybe you pissed someone off. Who knows? The other part is maybe none of those things happen, right? Maybe you were perfectly fine. You were professional. You didn't say anything off the cuff. That's entirely possible too. But the reality is you don't know. You cannot rely on your own recollection of events. And so now you have to lay there wondering, were you too much? Were you too emotional, too loud, too honest, just too anything? And that erodes your self-trust because you can no longer rely on your memory, on your behavior, on your decisions. And then you have to start relying on other people to tell you who you were. You have to rely on other people to tell you what you said and how you said it or why you behaved a certain way. And that disconnect between who you are and who you might have been, that creates instability. That creates discomfort in a dysregulated nervous system because you don't have ownership over your own life. So even if nothing bad happened, because that's usually more so the case, right? It's not like you go out and drink and something terrible happens or, you're having these blackouts or brownouts all the time. No, absolutely not. It's when you have them, they are so overwhelming that it distorts Not only that experience, but all of the other drinking experiences too. Because something is taken from you during those nights. And not only is it the memory, or perhaps the one never even stored, but it's your entire identity. It's your existence. So we're not just talking about that one instance. We're talking about lost connection, lost presence, lost pieces of your life that you don't get back. The real cost isn't just what you did or didn't do that night. It's that you don't get to remember being there at all, or experiencing the moment at all, or being present for whomever you love at all. So when you quit alcohol, you're not just removing alcohol, you're gaining back all of those experiences in return. You're choosing to remember conversations fully and to be present in those experiences. You're choosing to trust your intuition and to be solid in your identity and remember who you're becoming. Because you're not getting any younger. You don't get more time. You don't get more brain cells for free. But you do get a choice. And going alcohol free gives you clarity and gives you that presence and that emotional depth. And it allows your brain to form memories at every moment, even the little ones. So when you quit drinking, you're not missing out. You're opting in to your life and to be able to look back on your life and to look back on all of those memories and to have those meaningful memories in our brain that are truly ours. Those deep conversations with your loved ones that you can replay years later. And milestones with your children that you can fully experience in the moment and reflect back on. Those small little moments where you're laughing, those little moments are the ones that are the most unforgettable. When you laugh, when you connect, when you have clarity. And isn't that worth the trade-off for nights that you don't remember? Nights where you may have blacked out or had lapses in memory in your night? Conversations you can't even recall, milestones that should have mattered, or, celebrations or birthdays or wedding ceremonies that should have been meaningful but weren't because you were too busy drinking and then blacking out, and now you don't even know. You don't even have that special once in a lifetime moment to look back on. We cannot take with us time that we've wasted. We can't take with us what we never had to begin with. So if your brain is not storing those moments, then what are you taking? You don't have anything to take. You can't take with you, regrets. All you can take with you are your experiences and memories, and those follow you throughout your life and as you age. So for your reflection, think back to your most meaningful memories. And how can you build more of those in an alcohol-free life? Rather than focusing on nights or conversations that you may not even fully remember. What means more to you? So thank you so much for listening today. Please leave a 5-star review and also consider supporting the show for only $3, $5, $10 per month. you can get more of this content. It's a value-added podcast. I don't put advertisements in it. So I would really appreciate you guys supporting the show. And thank you so much for listening. I will talk to you all next Wednesday.